All right, let's talk about high blood pressure a minute, because that is an important issue. Well, let's lap that with low blood pressure. When we take someone's blood pressure, actually, what are we looking at? Are we just looking at the blood pressure? Absolutely not. And you notice in a blood pressure you have two numbers. You have the systolic on top and the diastolic on the bottom. If you remember and you go into your body, you're going to find two kidneys. The skin, of course, is the third kidney. But you've got two kidneys, and on top of those kidneys are the adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands, as you guys know, are everything to us, and especially to the astral or emotional bodies. So when you see anxieties, you see shortness of breath, asthmas, any chain of the COPDs, that's the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, not to use the word diseases, but when you see a lot of neurological problems to the lungs, because asthma on is neurological. So when you take a look at these, you look at heart arrhythmias, paralysis in a lot of ways, you can see the autonomic nervous system involved. And we've talked about this before, that the parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system is what I call the second brain. To me, that brain is located in the solar plexus in the stomach area. So when you get hit there, you notice you lose your breath. When you have stomach problems, you feel heart problems, breathing problems, because this is the core of the autonomic. The autonomic has two sides, parasympathetic, which reaches here in the cerebellum, and then the sympathetic, which reaches to the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands produces neural transmitters that turns on this nervous system. And it's geared to emotions, fight or flight, that's epinephrine, norepinephrine, those are your adrenalines. Then you have dopamines and acetylcholine. These are neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters either turn things on or turn things off. With dopamine and acetylcholine, you're into elimination, as adrenaline, as epinephrine and norepinephrine are for activity and muscles. They shut down certain activities so energy isn't lost that way. When you need energy to the muscles to fight, to protect yourself, or to whatever, all energy has to be focused, and that's what these neurotransmitters do. So they shut down some and increase others. And that's where stress comes in stress factors in having a lot of symptoms, because stress shuts down the dopamine, acetylcholine, and increases the epinephrine and norepinephrine, because you're stressed, your energy, and that sort of thing is why we lose elimination over time. And that's why you start to see a lot of symptoms under stress, because again, we're increasing activity, but we're shutting down elimination. And as you all are learning about the gigantic sewer system of the human body called the lymphatic system, when you shut down the kidneys, you're effectively shutting down that system. The whole thing comes into filtration of this sewer system through the kidneys. There has to be a movement. It is a fluid. No fluid can just sit there. Nothing can just sit and be static in creation. Because if you look at a lake that becomes stagnant, what happens? You can go clean the top off of it and sell it as blue-green algae, palm scum. And a lot of people eat palm scum just for the health of it, I suppose. But that neurotransmitter kick that kicks the heart to depolarize the ventricles and the atrials, to open up those valves. And that's that kick, that cardiac punch we call it. That is the systolic number, the upper top number. That's the adrenal glands. So the textbook number on the systolic number should always be 120. Anything higher than, let's say, 130, something's kicking that up a little bit. Stress, lymph, pressure, that sort of thing. When it's below 120, I'm feeling tired today. I don't feel like doing anything today. Or I'm so tired I can't even raise my hand up. That's autonomic. That's the adrenal glands. And the lower the blood pressure, and the young folks coming in today are in the 80s and 90s. This is serious, this is chronic, this is problematic. Remember, we've been talking a lot about when you go under anesthetics with these low blood pressures, some people are not coming out. A lot of babies are dying under surgery. You notice that? And it's like, God, medical doctors, wake up. What's going on here genetically? Quit chasing ridiculous gene thinking and look at genetics in a different way, because genetics is a fact. So it's enough to say that that top systolic blood pressure number is the adrenal glands. Well, what does the adrenal gland sit on top of? The diastolic. That's right. Your diastolic is directly related to your kidneys. So when the kidneys start to back up, you start to see your diastolic creeping up. Anything above 70 to me is a creeping. 120/60, textbook blood pressure. And if you're a practitioner and you're detoxing all your clients and you get them healthy, you'll find 120/60 consistently or thereabout. Doesn't mean you're filtering though. Got to remember that. Blood pressure is not indicative of filtration. However, when filtration backs up, after several years of this, the kidneys start to go themselves. And that is when you see all this, the creatinine creeping up, and you start to see the inflammation of the kidneys and the blood pressure going up. So high blood pressure as well as low blood pressure, kidney and adrenals. Now, if you get too low of a diastolic, you're in the low 50s, you got very weak kidneys. And this is where the weakness will come in to the cells. You got to build those kidneys up. And because man chose the high protein route, we have serious kidney problems. I mean, there isn't a child born today that doesn't have a kidney weakness worldwide. Bottom line, even islanders. It's just gotten that bad. As the body gets acidic, it gets edemic, it holds fluids, and that can also raise the blood pressure. Pressure. However, there's another thing called swinging blood pressure, and medical doctors that are listening to this, please, you have to understand this one. When the lymph backs up, obviously it backs up systemically. And it particularly backs right up the back. Almost every one of you knows what it's like to have stiff shoulders, tight necks, things like that. That's the lymph system. That means you're not filtering well. You're under stress or you're not filtering. Both reasons. And so one can lead to the other even. So real important to understand that when that builds up in the cerebellum, that's the parasympathetic side into the central nervous system, you'll see swinging blood pressure. When you're stressed and tight, your blood pressure will go up. When you're relaxed at home, it goes down. You cannot treat this high blood pressure except for PRN when needed. Because if you don't, you jump your clients in hypotension. You're not paying attention to your clients. And you have to determine whether this is swinging blood pressure. And no way when you're in a medical doctor's office should you take the first blood pressure as evidence of high blood pressure. That's ridiculous. Most people don't like medical doctors. As nice as some of them are, you guys hurt a lot of people. So when you get a swinging blood pressure, you can't treat that with high blood pressure medications. You can take a high blood pressure pill maybe when you're high. The best thing is to run hot and cold water or real ice water right back here, that's alkaline, and start cooling that down. Work on the neurolymphatic points down the spine, and you'll start to bring that blood pressure down. And that's good. Go and fix the kidneys, because it's still back to the kidneys and adrenals that problem exists, because that's what builds that lymph going up the back and everywhere else. And I don't want to use the word cure because high blood pressure isn't a disease. And the fact that medical doctors or the FDA would lump these kind of things as diseases shows you the intent to monopolize healthcare. Understand, what are you doing when you have high blood pressure? When you have high blood pressure, you get off all your proteins immediately. You go on fruits, berries, and melons, maybe a salad at the end of the day. And it doesn't take long and that blood pressure comes right down. Get some kidney formulas, get some adrenal gland formulas, and get those restored. Check your urine. Remember, fill the boot or fill the cup. Remember that sediment. Fill the cup. Get your kidneys filtering and you will give yourself a lot longer life on the planet if indeed that's what you want.